Where's the debit card? Let me take care of it, Jason said as I lay in a hospital bed, worn thin from chemotherapy and barely hanging on. The smug little grin on his face gave away more than he probably meant. It was like he couldn't wait to have that card in his hands. Just so you know, there's $500,000 on it. Use it wisely, I told him, not just because he was my husband, but because I needed him to play along for now. I told him exactly where the card was, fully aware it might backfire. But I had a plan. When I managed to get discharged and swung by the house to grab a few things, there it was, a divorce petition, sitting right there on the kitchen counter. Just as I'd feared, the debit card was gone. It might have looked like a total disaster to anyone else, but for me, that was step one in flipping the script that I'm Rachel, a 44-year-old homemaker. Things between Jason and me seemed normal at first. Peaceful even. But that calm didn't last. 2 months into our marriage, the mask slipped, and I saw who he really was. At first, he played the doting, understanding husband. But underneath that act was a man who truly believed his wife should always come second to him, like some twisted 50s rerun. Jason had a way of cutting me down constantly. He thought I should obey him without question. You're supposed to listen to your husband, he'd bark, and if I didn't, the insults came fast. What kind of wife doesn't even know how to listen? Or, you're useless. He wanted everything done his way. His clothes had to be washed separately, and his room cleaned first, no matter how exhausted I was or what else was going on. Even mealtime was a guessing game. A wife's job is to cook what her husband wants, he'd say. But even when I made his favorites, he'd push the plate away if he wasn't in the mood. I mean, I'm not a mind reader. If he wanted something specific, he could have just said so. But no, he thrived on keeping me off balance. His tantrums got more childish by the day, and I was beyond burned out. Still, I had to tread carefully, because every little mistake made things tenser, and the atmosphere at home turned more toxic by the hour. Eventually, it all caught up with me. One afternoon, while doing chores, I blacked out and hit the floor hard enough to make the neighbor upstairs come knocking. The building manager let them in, and next thing I knew, I was in an ambulance. When I woke up in the hospital, they ran tests, and just like that, my gut feeling was confirmed. Cancer. I didn't know if stress had triggered it or what, but I could barely sit upright without getting dizzy. A nurse had to help steady me. The doctor gently suggested I call family. I tried my childhood home, but Mom had passed a few years back, and Dad now lived with my older brother and his wife in Oregon, 3 hours away by plane. No quick help there. I called Jason and got voicemail. Left a message. But let's be honest, I already knew he had silenced my texts. The doctors advised me not to go back home, even though I needed my toiletries and a fresh change of clothes. So I waited. Hours later, Jason finally texted. One line, I'll be there tomorrow. Wait. No warmth, no how are you? Just that. I wasn't even sure he'd bring what I asked for. Earlier, I had clearly told him I needed some essentials that day. I texted again. No reply. When he finally read the messages, his response was, "Shut up and stop bothering me." Seriously, that's what he said to his wife with cancer, stuck in a hospital gown and feeling like hell. To be honest, I didn't expect much better from him. And, of course, he never showed up that day. I tried to keep my expectations low, but some tiny part of me still hoped. It made that first night even harder. The nurses, bless them, they were the only ones who showed me any kindness. That next day, right around lunchtime, just like he'd promised, Jason finally strolled into my hospital room. You look a lot better than I expected, he said with a smirk, giving me a once-over like I was some kind of science experiment. Thought you'd be a lot more fragile. His comment made my blood boil. Just drop the bags and go, I snapped, barely keeping my voice steady. He tilted his head, completely unfazed. What bags? He asked, like he had no clue what I was talking about. I was furious. Wasn't he supposed to bring my stuff? My change of clothes, my toiletries, the things I clearly told him I needed? I glared at him, unable to hide my frustration. "Why are you looking at me like that?" he shot back, his tone turning cold. I took a deep breath, trying not to lose it completely. "Then why are you here?" I asked. "If you didn't bring my things, what's the point?" Jason shifted his weight and muttered, "I had another errand." I raised an eyebrow. "Another errand? Like what?" He hesitated, glancing away like he was weighing whether to say it out loud. "If you've got something to say, then just spit it out," I told him, already exhausted from being sick and sleep-deprived. Finally, with a weird little laugh, he said it. "Where's the debit card? Let me take care of it. You can trust me." Suddenly it all made sense. He didn't come to check on me. He wasn't here out of concern. He wanted control of the card, my card, with all our savings. The selfishness of it, especially in this moment, made my stomach turn. And yet, there he was, smiling like he'd just done me a favor. I'd had enough. "There's $500,000 on that card. Take good care of it," I said calmly, holding his gaze. His face shifted, shocked at first, then lighting up with glee. "See, neither of us came from money. We were just regular office workers before we got married. Never rich. Never flashy. So that kind of money? That was massive. Where did it come from? Simple. The stock market. A friend nudged me to start investing after I became a full-time homemaker, and I'd been playing it smart, juggling trades between loads of laundry. Recently, I hit it big, $500,000 big. I hadn't told Jason, of course. I knew exactly what kind of person he was, and I didn't trust him an inch. But now I wanted him to note I was done playing nice. With a sweet smile, I looked at him and said, "It's in the third drawer of the bookshelf. Go ahead." Jason stood there, stunned for a beat, then gave a chipper, "Got it." He had no idea he'd just walked right into my trap. "I'll leave the rest to you," I told him as he hustled out the door like a man on a mission. He thought he'd won. Thought he'd finally pulled one over on me. But what he didn't know was that cashing out that kind of money isn't something you can just do on a whim, not on a holiday weekend when the banks are closed and you've got a 9 to 5 the next day. That gave me just enough time to set the rest of my plan in motion. After talking things over with my doctor, I was granted temporary leave from the hospital. I wasn't wasting a second. The next day, my revenge would unfold. But honestly, I couldn't wait. So I decided to head home a day early, not just for my things, but to check if he'd taken the bait. The house was quiet. Jason was at work, just like I'd hoped. I stepped inside and went straight to the living room. On the table were two things, a divorce form and a hastily scribbled note. "Sorry for doing this so fast. Let's just get divorced. Please sign and submit." I moved toward the shelf and opened the drawer to confirm what I already suspected. Yep, the debit card was gone. Most people would panic over losing that much money. But me? I actually smiled. "Operation successful," I whispered under my breath. If Jason had been there, he probably would have lost his mind trying to figure out what I meant. I calmly filled out the divorce papers, grabbed my essentials for the hospital, and walked out of the house we'd shared for years. And yes, I submitted the form. On my way out of the house, I dropped the signed divorce papers at the courthouse, cutting all ties with Jason once and for all. It felt like shedding dead weight. Back at the hospital, I mentally braced myself for the road ahead, doctor's visits, treatments, and whatever else was coming. I sat with my doctor for a while, going over everything I needed to know, and then later, I was finally able to kick back and catch my breath in my hospital room. That's when I noticed the missed calls, several of them. All from Jason. There were also a few frantic texts. Stuff like, "How do I get the money out?" Or, "The ATM's not working. What am I doing wrong?" Not wanting to disturb the woman sharing my room, I stepped out into the common area where calls were allowed and hit call back. Jason picked up instantly. "Finally. I can't get the money out. Just tell me what to do." His voice was strained, nervous even. Way more panicked than I expected. Clearly, he needed the $500,000 for something big. Urgently. But helping him? Not a chance. "If you can't access it, maybe you should just let it go," I said flatly, not even trying to hide the edge in my voice. Come on, don't be like that. We were married. We should have each other's backs, right? Jason pleaded. I almost laughed. You're seriously gonna talk to me about loyalty? About helping each other? After everything? The man had the nerve to appeal to some twisted sense of shared history. But it wasn't love or partnership driving him. It was greed, plain and simple. There was no way I'd pretend otherwise. Are you seriously struggling to get the money? I asked, trying to keep my tone cool, though I already knew the answer. Yes. I need it like now. Please, just help me, he stammered. His voice cracked with desperation. I'd never heard him sound that vulnerable. It was almost pitiful, almost. Well, the process is fine, I told him, keeping my voice steady. But the ATM card you've got? It's worthless now. What? What do you mean? Jason's voice jumped, disbelief dripping from every word. Yeah, normally, a card would work. But not that one. It's been shut off. Totally useless, I said, calm as ever. Why? He demanded, already spiraling, because I went to the bank this morning and reported it stolen. Which it was, by the way, I said, letting the truth hit him like a slap. So congratulations, Jason. That card? Just a plastic souvenir now. The silence on his end was delicious. I could picture him staring blankly at the card, probably breaking into a sweat. He'd stolen it, plain and simple. Thought he could take something that wasn't his, cash in, and leave me in the dust. But I beat him to it. Filing that theft report was the smartest move I made all week. On top of that, we were officially over. No more marriage, no more shared anything. He had no legal leg to stand on. How's it feel? I asked, my voice low. Getting played by the woman you thought was beneath you? I couldn't resist twisting the knife a little. I don't know why you needed the money so badly, but let me be very clear. I'm not stupid enough to hand it over to you. He didn't even argue. Just let out this choked, pleading sound. I need that money. Please, I'll do anything. Just give it to me, Jason begged, his voice shaky and raw. I could almost feel his panic through the phone, but I didn't flinch. What the hell happened? I asked, suddenly curious. Why do you suddenly need $500,000? What did you do? There was a long pause, too long. The kind that tells you something's seriously wrong. Then, finally, he spoke. 2 days ago, when you told me about the money. I quit my job, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I thought I had it in the bag. I thought I didn't need to work anymore. Of course he did. I started gambling. I was sure I'd win more. But it got out of hand. I racked up over $300,000 in debt. I thought I could just pay it back with your savings, he continued, every word making me want to scream. S.O. that was it. Jason had bet everything on a fantasy. He blew through cash he didn't even have, convinced my money would bail him out. And when the card didn't work, reality smacked him in the face. Now he was drowning, lenders breathing down his neck, his future hanging by a thread. I don't know what's gonna happen now, he admitted, and for once he didn't sound smug or smugly entitled. He sounded terrified, but I wasn't his safety net anymore. And I wasn't about to become his ATM. Jason's actions made me sigh, not out of sadness, but out of disbelief. He had done the unthinkable. Lured by the illusion of sudden wealth, he blew through $300,000 in just a few days. The old me, the woman who tolerated his cruelty, who kept quiet to keep the peace, might have tried to help. Might have lent him a hand out of some misplaced loyalty, but that version of me no longer existed. There was no love left. No pity. Only a cold amusement at how shamelessly he still thought I'd care. Please, you're all I have left, he begged, his voice trembling. His desperation grated on me. I didn't want to hear another word. I wanted to be done with him, to shift my full focus onto healing, not just my body, but my life. The irony was sharp. If he had just shown up with my things when I asked, if he had shown any concern for me at all as his wife, I might have considered giving him a piece of that $500,000. But he chose greed. He chose to disappear. And now he could deal with the consequences, I'm sorry, I said, cold and steady. But I have no intention of helping you. The money stays with me. This is your mess. You clean it up. He tried again. Don't be cruel. We were married. That has to mean something, right? All those years. I cut him off. What relationship are you even talking about? You leaned on me. You used me. And now you want to twist our past into a sob story? No. I'm done being manipulated. No matter what you say, I added, I'm not giving you a single dollar. Jason's pleas turned to whimpers. Emily, please. If you abandon me, I don't know what's gonna happen. As if his downfall was my responsibility. As if I hadn't spent years carrying the weight of his failures while he treated me like nothing. If he hadn't been so reckless, if he hadn't gambled away what wasn't his, he wouldn't be standing at the edge of ruin. This is your doing, I said flatly. You're just facing the consequences. Handle it yourself. And with that, I hung up. He called again and again. I didn't answer. Eventually, I blocked his number. That was the last time Jason ever reached me. I had filed the divorce papers. They were processed and accepted. With that, I was finally freed. I turned my focus inward, to my recovery. I fought my way through the cancer. It wasn't easy, but I made it. After my discharge, I got word from a mutual friend. Jason had vanished. Out of money, out of options. He had tried hitting up old friends and even his in-laws for loans, begging for help. But no one gave him a cent. His story didn't add up. His desperation only raised eyebrows. I don't know what became of him, and honestly, I don't care. A quiet satisfaction settled over me. I had survived more than just illness. I had escaped the prison of a toxic marriage. I moved out of the old house, found a new place that was all mine, and started working from home. It was modest, but peaceful. I had my independence, and that was worth everything. Some friends asked if I'd ever remarry. I'd smile, shake my head. After the life I'd lived with Jason, love didn't tempt me. Freedom did, and now? I was finally free.